happy to see you. And you can send anything to the Q&A person there. He'll keep it anonymous. Even if you want to propose to him, just send the thing. He'll just keep it to himself, and he'll keep it anonymous. I just want to. I mean, this is what I was really given to understand is to talk about some very specific, practical, down to earth tips. But before I get down to earth, please forgive me. I want to go in a big picture, like 60,000 feet picture. So I'm just putting up a picture on my screen. It's really a big picture, okay? And I want you to kindly guess. And there is a name for this picture. So I just want you to just guess and tell me. You can chat there, and Jobin, if you can kindly help me. If anyone, you can tell me what are the entries, what people have put. But just chat and say what is this picture. It's one of the most famous pictures. And if you get it right, actually, Jobin has promised a gift that is a Kia Seltos car, the SUV, and that's the one which he actually has modeled for. It looks like Tiger Shroff, but it's actually Jobin.
Okay.
So, okay, so anyone guessing
Yeah, we
this
got in an
picture?
entry. A person said a solar light.
Solar light. Okay, good. Who said
Okay.
that?
Ashish Ratnaraj.
Ashish Ratnaraj. You. Happy New Year to you too. New Year resolution to you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Ashish. But we'll move on. We'll see if anyone else has
Yeah.
another answer.
Irene has sent Earth from space,
Earth from space. Okay, Irene.
and
Seems like you've been there. And were you the one who took this picture? I'm not really sure. Okay. Thank you, Irene.
okay, and Sharon Kuti has said Northern Lights.
Sharon Kuti has said Northern Lights. Okay. Thank you,
And
Sharon, Irene, and Ratnaraj, Ashish. Any other guesses?
yeah, there are a
I'll
bunch
tell
of
you
it.
who's the closest.
Okay, Kalai Resi has said Rainbow.
Kalai Arisi has said rainbow. Very good. A rainbow parade, you said, or just rainbow? Rainbow. Okay, fine. Yeah.
And Joseph has said Arctic Light.
Joseph has said Arctic Lights. Is Joseph and Sharon are sitting together? No. Okay. And then, yeah. So, Kalai, many people have guessed it as rainbow. I will not keep you guessing a lot. Irene, is it? The second person was
Yes,
Irene, right? Who
yes,
said
yes.
view of Earth from space. Irene, you're the closest to the answer. But there's a very specific title for this picture, and it is called Pale Blue Dot. Okay, this picture was taken almost, I think many of you would not have been born at that time. Jobin was highlighting, I don't know why he does this, that the age difference. It's not much, it's just about a couple of years age difference, but he was highlighting it. But still, I was there and on that particular, I mean, I saw, I think it was in National Geographic or so, this picture. But it's called Pale Blue Dot. You know, in 1977, I think it was two space probes were sent out into the space by NASA. And actually, Voyager 2 went about a week or two before Voyager 1. And then when Voyager 1 was supposed to fly by Pluto, they'd already started losing interest in Pluto as a planet. They changed it and they made Voyager 1 go via the moons of Saturn. And then when it was going leaving the solar system, actually they didn't realize at that time that the solar system is much bigger. Beyond the planets there's the Kuiper belt and all that. But when it was leaving, they the cosmologist Carl Sagan made a request to NASA and said, "Can you just turn the camera and ask them to take one final picture of Earth before it goes beyond?" And that this is the result of that picture. You know, this little dot that they said, and that's why Irene is so correct. This little dot there, I believe in that camera image is just 1 pixel. They have enlarged it and all, which means that if it drifted more than 1 day or 2 days more, maybe they would have not even got Earth because it was just 1 pixel. Okay, and so small it is. I was talking about 60,000 feet. This is actually 6 billion kilometers away. This is a picture of the Earth. Now, the reason I'm showing this is Carl Sagan wrote a book about this picture. Okay. And it's a beautiful book. I'm just going to read some paragraphs from the book, especially going to read the paragraph which I don't agree with. And the picture gives us so much perspective. Sorry. You know what Carl Sagan says is this. This is it. This is us. Look again. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, every human being who ever was and lived out their lives, the aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident people, ideologies, economic doctrines. And then he says every king, every peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor, explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint, every sinner in the history of our species lived here on that little mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. But I hope you can see my arrow. I'm going to that paragraph number 3, the one that I don't agree with. Our posturings, our imagined self importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe is challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. Which means that Carl Sagan has agreed, like many scientists are agreeing now, that we are actually on a clock set for our own destruction. I met a geologist who showed me his laptop. He's based in Memphis in US, but he has he's has this measurements from every corner of the earth, right from the Himalayas to the Andaman Nicobar to Antarctica and various, the slightest millimeter of shift in the crests and crusts is recorded in his laptop. And he said that the seismic activity has been steadily increasing over the last 10, 20 years. He says if we extrapolate and draw it, it's not very soon before the earth itself ends. Now, Carl Sagan is talking about something else. He's saying, save us from ourselves. We need someone to save us from ourselves, but no one is there. Why does he say that? Because by ourselves, we don't have the resolve to improve ourselves. We are all set on a path of destruction. That's what the cosmologist himself agrees. And by the way, many people are fans of Carl Sagan, including the greatest atheists, etc. Now, the point I just want to tell you is just keep this in your mind. Just keep this in your mind. Okay. And I want to tell you the story of 4 young people. People say they were 16 years, 17 years old, and they were conquered. This happened more than 3,000 years ago, and they were conquered. Their country was conquered, and they were taken to that time the biggest country and the biggest city on earth. It was called Babylon. These 4 people, youngsters, were taken along with many other youngsters. And one of them, it says that his name was Daniel. He says he purposed in his heart, that he would be, he that his life meant a higher purpose. And I just wanted to, I told you it'll start with 60,000 feet and then I'll come to ground level, if you don't mind. I want to say that even before setting goals, newer resolutions, all these kind of things, you have to realize the higher purpose for which you are. It's no point doing something very good and not doing the right thing. For instance, Hitler was enormously disciplined, and he was, I believe it was emotionally draining to spend even half an hour with Hitler, because he was so disciplined, he was so full of ideas, he was such kind of a go-getter he was. But then what's the point of doing things right if you're not doing the right things? What's the point of having great New Year's resolutions if you're not stuck to a higher purpose in your life? And that's why I want to ask you, did you, like Daniel, the first thing that he did was he was dedicated to his destiny? I want to tell you that, Carl Sagan was wrong in this. We are not by ourselves. There is help. We were created, we were not evolved from a monkey. We were created for a purpose. Every one of us. I believe there is, some of you may know, there's a pastor in Bangalore, Reverend Johnson, and his son asked him, Dad, before I was born, where was I? And he thought for a moment and he answered, You were an idea in the mind of God. And I want to tell you that there is a God and that he loves you and that he cares for you. Recently, I was talking with a group of 12th standard students, and they had a physical meeting, and they were all seated there. I mean, they were from different religions. I was telling them a story of a man named Jacob, who ran away from his family, and then he slept in a very lonely place, and he thought it was a god-forsaken place. But he had a beautiful dream, and in that dream there were angels climbing up and down a ladder, and God was there. And I told them, the first thing I told them, this: there is a God and he loves you. He has a plan and purpose for your life. And honestly, I'm telling you, the boys and girls, there are more than 180 of them. I could see so many of them touched with their mouths wide open. Yes, there is a God. There's someone. You're not alone. Someone cares for you. And Daniel found his destiny in his life, and he purposed. He had a purpose in his heart, and that was wonderful. And what was that purpose? He decided, that he'll be disciplined. He said, there's certain things I will not eat, there's certain things I will not drink. I will maintain my physique, I will maintain my intellect, I will do this. He was a person, and he set a goal for just 10 days, just for him and his friends also. A lot of value in that, and he followed a daily discipline. Even if it was just 10 days, he had the discipline to follow it. I was talking to a person from Sri Lanka. His name is Ajit Fernando, and he says, like, when I had to get up and have my time of prayer and all that, I set an alarm and then I didn't do it. I couldn't follow it, so I put the alarm. I would go back to sleep, so I put the alarm in the other side of the room, but I would still go switch it off and go back to sleep. And then I put some obstacles in between so that I would fall over it on my way in my sleep to go to the alarm, but then I would be wide awake. How much discipline it requires. I mean, how many of you get up with an alarm, first of all? You know, and it requires daily discipline. Daniel, Shadrach, and Meshach and Abednego had that discipline. And I just want to recommend this book for you from John Maxwell. He says that there are 12 daily disciplines you should have every day, you know 12 daily practices, and it's called Today Matters. He said, take life one day at a time. Don't even plan too much ahead, but do these 12 daily practices every day. And it's a brilliant thing. John Maxwell, by the way, is one of the foremost management gurus, and he was a pastor before that, you know and in our corporate world and all, we follow a lot of his books. And lastly, I want to say, Daniel had a practice of meeting with his God. He had 3 times of prayer every day, and was it 3 or was it 5? But he was very dedicated to his prayer. He was very devoted to the divine. He knew there was a power higher than his. People could not find fault. He was remarkable. He served as prime minister in 4 different rulers. 4 different kingdoms attacked. One kingdom, first the opposition took over, then another invading kingdom came, but they all made Daniel the prime minister. Can it happen? Imagine that the opposition, a non-BJP government comes in next, and they still keep the current prime minister as a prime minister because his wisdom is so great. And then imagine, I'm just, don't quote me, but imagine if China invades India and they still keep the same prime minister here. That's how it was with Daniel. And that's because he was always, he knew that there was a divinity, a God who cared for him, and he had his time with God every day. I just wanted to say this larger picture, just wanted to share this with you. You have to have a purpose in your life. There's this girl from Jharkhand who was home the other day, this little girl, and she said, not little girl, but compared to my age, little. Jobin and I are not of the same age. We are almost 40 years apart, I think. No, 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 30 years apart. And then, so this, she was saying, I don't know, uncle, why I came here to Hyderabad, but I've done so well. I've got such a good job. I've become a national player in table tennis. And what is my purpose? And I encouraged her, just pray and find out your purpose. And I want you to do this exercise. The Q&A will lead you, and you have to be able to, and even if you don't get it today, keep praying about it. God will reveal it, maybe one step at a time, but you'll get your purpose. And then you need discipline. Nothing in this world, I'm quoting Scott M. Peck, the man who wrote The Road Less Traveled. Nothing in this world happens without discipline. Anything, you know. And then you should have your connection with the divine every single day, or else it won't work. Having said that, I'll come to the last part of my thing: 7 habits to keep your New Year resolutions. And I'll just make it quick. Habit number one is, I can't even see my own screen. Just give me a second. Okay. Yeah, habit number one is, you create a measurable goal, something that is measurable. Don't just try to solve the world hunger. There are a lot of people very idealistic. They said, I'll do this, I'll climb Mount Everest, I'll do that. No, just have a simple measurable goal, and don't make it vague. I'll do better, I'll improve my communication. That's a very common thing. Or you know I'll lose weight. No, make it more measurable. In many weeks I will do these things. And unless it is measurable, it's not a goal, it's just a wish, you know. And one of my friends, he's a cricket commentator, he wrote a book, and he said dreams with deadlines are actually goals. So your dreams, you should bring deadlines to your goals. His name is Harsha. Dreams with deadlines are goals. And eliminate the vague goals, make it measurable. The second thing is identify clear action steps. Milestones are important. That's why, that it's we are moving away. In my days, the education system is at the end of the year, end of the semester, you'll have an exam, and then you'll only start studying the night before the exam, and there'll be so many distractions. But it's better that you have milestones. So whatever your goal, have steps, and break it up into milestones. If you don't do that, it's too kind of far away in the distance. You can't see beyond the horizon. No one can see beyond the horizon. So make it clear action steps. Number three is set yourself up for success. Make bad habits inconvenient, good habits convenient. For instance, if you're going to the gym, have your gym kit and everything ready, and pack it in a bag, and keep it in a convenient place. If you're going for a jog every day, make it inconvenient not to go, because you tell a few friends and fix an appointment to meet at 5 a.m., then it's inconvenient for you not to go. you know so make bad habits inconvenient, good habits inconvenient. The other thing is, you should have the wisdom to plan ahead for obstacles. Just think, just take a little time to think, what are the obstacles then I can face. I believe engine drivers are given, and my dad used to love traveling by train, and he used to do a very embarrassing thing. I used to feel so embarrassed traveling with him. He'll go and chat with the engine drivers, and he'll say, அந்த ஜோன்ல நீங்க ரொம்ப ஃபாஸ்டா போனீங்க, ரொம்ப signals வந்துச்சு, all those kind of things. Engine drivers know which are the danger zones. They know, and ahead they know that this is where they have to go at this particular speed, everything like that. You have to plan what are the obstacles you will face, you know and you have to eliminate that. For sometimes, changing your friend's company, your friends, the company you're used to, a particular bad habit that is associated with a certain company, maybe changing that, what will happen. When you go back there, it's like you will go back to the past. And number five is, start when you're ready. It's a myth that you always have to do it in January. So even now, you can set resolutions, that you can start when you're ready. You can set new year resolutions anytime during the year. It's I think it's very silly to say all our resolutions should start on January 1st. Do something in March. For now, set maybe one goal or maybe two goals, and you say, once I achieve this, I will have another resolution that I will start in March. So don't think you've missed the bus. No pressure on January 1st. Number 6 is track your progress. It's very exciting to have little calendars, spreadsheets, charts, etc. Give yourself little rewards, all those kind of things when you track your progress. We are all kids at heart, and I still remember my primary school teacher who used to put those little stars against my name in the chart, and sometimes it would be black marks. Of course, sometimes the black marks, black dots would be more than the stars, but I just used to be oblivious to the black dots and look at the stars and feel so proud of myself. Track your progress. And number 7 is, don't give up when you make mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. I believe there's statistics, in the first 10 days itself, about 15% of the people give up on their goals, and only less than 20%. There are various statistics, this may not be 100% accurate, but only less than 19%, I believe, finally make, to some extent, you can say at the end of the year that they've kept their goals. you know and many people give up when they make mistakes, when they themselves drop their own goals. You should not. You should actually make allowance for mistakes. And I believe at least in a 12-month span, at least 14 times you could make mistakes on any given goal. But take it as part of the deal. Okay, I made a mistake. 1 week I didn't do this because this came. Don't drop the goal at that time. Say, okay, this is mistake. I'll start again. No problem. Don't give it like it's a failure and I'm doomed. Don't set yourself up for that kind of a thing. I just wanted to tell you, I think there'll be a time of discussion, but I just want to tell you, right from the higher purpose, come anchor yourself to a higher purpose, be disciplined, and have your take divine help. You can't do it alone. God loves you, cares for you, and He will help you, and do wonderfully in your New Year goals.